Alright guys, moving on to our next Patreon request, and this one comes from Luke Morehouse, who asked me to do a Riddler versus Jigsaw story. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the third tier, that'll allow you access to do so. Also, just throwing that out there, I forgot to mention this, that I'm currently taking up questions over on Patreon for a Warhammer Fantasy Q&A, so if you want to be part of that, just hit the link below. That one, if you just want to do Q&As and check out episode reviews, that's first tier stuff. But again, if you want to do like requests and whatnot and check out all the other videos over on Patreon, that's third tier. Anyway, hit the link below, head on over there. There we go. So yeah, Riddler versus Jigsaw. Now, I'm not going to lie, I did take a lot of inspiration for this video, for this request, in the vein, like, a lot of this is inspired by Silence of the Lambs. That's what I'm kind of going for in this story. Just letting you guys know to begin with, there's a lot of Silence of the Lambs and, like, you know, Red Dragon kind of storytelling in here. I'm like, because I know someone in the comments was like, this feels very Silence of the Lambs. That was kind of the idea. That was the best way to do this kind. When I first thought it was like, that's the best way to do a Riddler versus Jigsaw story. So here we go. So the story begins. Also, if you're wondering where we are canonically in the Saw franchise for this movie, we are basically in the timeline of shortly before the events of the first Saw movie. So the Jigsaw killer, it is John Kramer. He's out there. He has been, like, taking victims, and a lot of them are dying, some are living, and they're changed irrevocably. And obviously the FBI is starting to get involved, and they're trying to figure out, like, who this killer is and what his MO is about, like, trying to really pin it down. So we follow this FBI agent who he basically is like this young up and coming agent. He's also, like, got a background in psychology and whatnot, and he's trying to pin this down. It's very like Mindhunter. So he gets called in. The guy's name is we'll call it doesn't really matter, but his name's Agent Wesley. So Agent Wesley gets called in, and he's like, "Hey, these Jigsaw killings are getting worse. We don't know who he is. We're trying to pin that down. So we've decided that, like, it's best to kind of poke his brain, because there's a similar MO in another city from someone else. Like, there is a very similar MO going on that goes on in Gotham." And Wesley is like, "Oh no, you don't want me to talk to him? You want me to go to Arkham Asylum and talk to that guy?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna go. Like, you are gonna pick the brain, because the Jigsaw killings feel almost like almost an exact copy of the Riddler, like how the Riddler operates. So we're sending you to Gotham as, like, to get insight from see if you can get insight from Nigma." So the agent goes. So Agent Wesley goes. He goes to Arkham, and he's talking to some of the doctors there, and they're like, you know, he's heard about these Jigsaw killings too. And Wesley's like, "Really? What does he think of them? Like, what does he personally think of these killings?" And he goes, "He's not a fan." So they give him all the stuff, like, "Hey, I know you're used to, like, you guys in Langley are used to all the thinking you got all the slick shit killers, like all you catch all the serial killers and the, you know, all the other major killers and whatnot, and you think you got it under wraps. You are in Arkham now. You don't know shit. You are in the belly of the beast. These are the most dangerous people on the planet that don't that don't go fighting Superman. So do not let him. He will try to get the best of you. If you're as smart as you think you are, you know, you won't have any problems." But one of our psychiatrists, the last guy who tried to get in Nigma's head, ended up hanging himself after trying to figure out a riddle. Just letting you know. So Wesley goes into Nigma, where they're holding Nigma in Arkham, And Nigma's just kind of like sitting there. He's like reading the newspaper, and he's like, so I knew it was only a matter of time. I knew like one of you guys were gonna come and talk. One of you guys, whether it be Batman, I thought it'd be Batman, but I knew it was only a matter of time before someone needed a riddle solved, and who better than me? So Riddler's talking like behind the glasses, and Wesley's essentially like trying to like. He tells him all about the Jigsaw killer's MO, and Riddler's like, so he is copying me, but not to the degree you all think, because see, that's why you came here, was to, think that the Jigsaw killer is just a Riddler copy. I'll admit that some of his work is inspired by me, and genius does inspire copycats, I cannot lie, but you're failing to see the major point. He's punishing people. I, punish stupid people. He's just punishing people who have done wrong. He's giving them an out. I give people an out and expand their minds. He's trying to expand their soul. So Wesley's like, yeah, we've gone through several of them, and a lot of these people have died horribly. I mean, look at these, and he's like, yeah, it's very clear that what he's doing is very intrinsically tied to these people's crimes or self mutilations. Has there been any survivors? And then they're like, yeah, so far there's been one. Her name is Amanda, and from what we understand, she basically is having some kind of like Stockholm syndrome about Jigsaw. She doesn't know who he is, but she says she saved him and all of that. We couldn't get much further out of her other than she thinks she saved him. And he's like, all right, cool. I'm going the next time he kills, and trust me, he will kill again. And when you find a body, I would like to be there. And Wesley's like, oh man, almost got me there. And Nigma is like, no, you're gonna need me, because I'm gonna see something that you idiots won't be able to see. I'll be able to see the big riddle that you guys are looking at, all the little riddles. I'm gonna look at the big one. So the next time he kills, I would, I want to be there in person, because I can't just, I can only go so far with photographs. Photographs and files. So they're like, fuck, I'm gonna have to call some people. So he goes back to the FBI. Wesley goes back to the FBI, and he's like, Nigma's asking to be at the next crime scene. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? We're not gonna let the Riddler near a crime scene. And they're like, well, if you want someone else, we can get a bat signal on top of the building. Maybe we'll get Batman to come out here, world's greatest detective and all that. And they're like, okay, but he is going to be watched. He is going to be under supervision, and if he tries to make a run, we will kill him on sight. And he's like, okay. So Riddler, the next Jigsaw killing happens, and they essentially bring Riddler. He's handcuffed and all that, and they've got weapons trained on him. And Wesley tells him, if you try anything, Nigma, you will be shot. Like, they will shoot your ass dead. And he's like, ooh, exciting. So Riddler's going through the crime scene. He's looking over all of the details, and he basically sees, like, he notices something, like little pieces of paint all across the crime scene, and he like pieces it together, and he sees that it's like a big question mark, and he's like, that son of a bitch is calling me out. And Riddler is just like, this mother, but Wesley's more like, how does he know we're talking to you? You've been in Arkham this whole time. Are you giving him help? And he's like, oh no, I would not, please, this guy, this hack, I would not be, sharing my intellect with some moron. But they basically reveal, there's also a tape, a box discovered, and they have to use bomb disposal to open up. It's a tape, And they play it, and it's Jigsaw, and Jigsaw is like, "Hello, Edward. I'd like to play a game. You go throughout life giving people riddles and tests. Well, today the test is on you. I understand that you're looking for me. So, let the game begin." And Riddler's just like, "Oh, I am so in." I am like... So, Riddler is sent back to Arkham, and he's like trying to puzzle, like, who, like, he's trying to figure out, like, how they get it. And he looks up at the camera, and he's like, "Son of a bitch." So, Riddler, using his intellect, he does, like, find a way to climb up, get the security camera, and discovers there's, like, a bug in it. And he's like... And it's got the Jigsaw spiral in there, and he's just like, "To the Jigsaw Killer, I hope you're listening. Game on." And he just crushes it. So Wesley's now caught, now caught up in this whole thing, and the FBI is like talking more to Riddler because he is the closest they have to like figuring it out. So Riddler and Riddler's helping to investigate all these little things, and Jigsaw is leaving different clues here and there. And eventually, like, one night when Nigma is back in his cell, he's getting a little more privileges, like he's being allowed like Sudoku puzzles and whatnot, like he gets certain treatment and whatnot. And one night Wesley comes in and he's like, "There's been another murder, there's been another killing, we're gonna need you to come out early." And he's like, "Oh, no, there's not. There hasn't been." And he's like, "Yeah, there is. We have everything." And he's like, "Do you?" See, I was, I kind of thought to myself, and maybe it's just because I've been cooped up and I haven't really been thinking clearly. I've been thinking about how, the Jigsaw Killer, he only operates by himself. I didn't take into account that he has acolytes. Right, Wesley? So Wesley's like, "Damn. How'd you figure it out?" And he's like, "Oh, I had my suspicions, but I had to be certain that that whoever the Jigsaw Killer is, I had to be certain that they were working alone first. I did have some suspicions of like how well you knew the crime scene and how well you were able to like help me piece together these killings. And also, you had such a pitch perfect form of his MO, it made me think, well, why didn't you catch this guy yourself?" And he's like, "So I take it this last crime scene was to put a bullet in the back of my brain?" He's like, "Yeah, I can do it here, though." So the guy, Wesley goes to take a shot at Riddler. Riddler, like, manages to get out of the way, grab, like a shiv he's been hiding this whole time, and just get Wesley in the neck. And he's just like, you just killed an FBI agent." And he goes, "Do I look like I'm going anywhere?" And just slits his throat. Riddler then, Riddler then, like, goes through all of, like, Wesley's things. And keep in mind, the camera he also disabled. So he's just, like, he snuck out of Arkham. He then, after getting all of Wesley's files and notes and whatnot, Riddler then, like, sneaks out of manages to get out of Arkham, and he goes to he actually steals a car and goes to the closest crime scene of the next city where the Jigsaw killing happened, and there he breaks into a building, and there is the Jigsaw, and he's like, "Hello, John. You weren't making it easy for me." So, and John Kramer's like, "So, figured it out." And he's like, "Wasn't hard. You were who else but John Kramer, a guy who helped me engineer some of my traps in my early years, and also someone who had so much loss, as well as someone who was who had nothing to lose. You were my prime suspect." And he's like, "Then why didn't you tell the FBI?" He's like, "Because I already had my suspicions when Wesley was working for you. It would never go through. And also, who would believe a 70-something cancer patient, as brilliant as he is, would be the Jigsaw Killer?" And he's like, "Well, what now? Are you going to kill me?" And he goes, "Oh, no. Why would I kill you? This is the best kept secret. Like, knowing who the Jigsaw killer is, that's the best riddle I solved. Who needs, and no one needs to know but me. And he's like, but you have to tell everyone the answer. And he's like, sometimes the best kind of riddles are the ones you keep yourself, John. And Riddler then leaves into the city, and he's like, I'm going to go back to Arkham. I've got so much to... I'm going to go back to Gotham. I've got so much to do, and a bat who needs my attention. He's seeing you, John. He like just tips his hat and leaves. So, there you go, guys. That is Riddler versus Jigsaw. Like I said, very Silence of the Lambs inspired. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I'd like to thank Luke Morehouse for this Patreon request and continued patronage. Other than that, you guys tell me in the comments below what you guys think of it. Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.